Thank you for this opportunity. So my name is Rob Leeming. My alter ego, my superhuman humane presence is the Mad Monk, and I teach heavily meditated. And I've started my own ministry. I call it Free Will Ministry underscore AAH because the place in which I teach is called the Apocalyptic Ashram Hawkshaven, and so the acronym creates Ah. So what I teach here is it's a model of transformation of individuals and of landscape. And so some of the things that for landscape are introducing is the permaculture and recognizing how nature works naturally and it works locally for everyone everywhere. And when we start to recognize these principles that nature teaches us, we're able to step into a much more efficient way of living. And in efficiency, we find ease. And ease is the opposite of dis-ease and the opposite of stress. And so I had an experience 13 years ago on Father's Day. I was gifted a few moments of being outside of the body due to blood loss from an ulcer in my throat that had ruptured. And I was bleeding to death. And I finally got into the hospital, and there was a moment that I left, and I looked down upon this body like it was a worn out pair of boots I was ready to walk away from. But at 36, it shouldn't have been a worn out pair of boots, right? Because they can last for so much longer. And we can be living in health, happiness, peace, and abundance if we're not living in stress. And so I started recognizing after this experience that nothing that I had built, nothing that I had been doing truly mattered, even though it was making me money and I was experiencing all sorts of now looking back, it more resembles relationships, right? Because they weren't necessarily focused on the things that were of benefit and what mattered. And so I was able to I recognized that the only reason I wanted to be in this life experience was that my daughter was only 12 years old, and there were things that I had not yet taught her or expressed to her in a real way. We had done more of what was normal, and without floating back into my body or anything like that, I just opened my eyes, and then I was wheeled into surgery, and 3 days later I was released from the hospital. And I haven't been sick since. And I've been renewed in my mission of what I want to express to the world. And so in this last 13 years, I've retired from my plumbing business. You can read a short bio if you type in free will, Yakima Herald. It'll come up on most any search engine. I was blessed with a biography they shared a few years ago, and that talks a little bit of my background in that. But in my new growth, I had to ask myself a lot of questions. I had to ask why I'm doing a lot of things the way I'm doing them, and are they working for me? Are they coming from soul, or are they coming from the programming from idols broadcasted over television programming to the masses that are supporting certain ways of being? That have promoted control and stress and disease and famine and fire and flood and erosion and drought and homelessness and all of these problems that we're recognizing in the world that most other species on this planet aren't suffering from, right? I asked the squirrel one time to pay some rent that lives on the property, and he told me to get bent. He said, "Hey man, I did my whole. I'm gonna collect my food here, and if you don't bother me, I won't bother you." And we've been living together for a long time now. But what this exploration has taken me into is recognizing the foundation of who we are and how we are in this world. And so when I was growing up, everybody called me Will, even though that wasn't what I wanted to be called. I wanted to be called Rob. But so when I joined the military and it was a whole new world, I was able to shift into Rob. But I realized it wasn't the Rob, it was the raw aspect of what it is to be a humane being. And that's what I want to project to the world. Am I just going to be human, or am I going to be humane? And so I got out of the military when I realized I wasn't supporting humane things. And I realized that to truly benefit others, I need to be doing so from the private sector or from a nonprofit entity aspect, and so I've chosen my ministry. And it's an unincorporated ministry because I chose to maintain a distinct separation of church and state. So that doesn't give me certain benefits, but it does give me others. So anyway, the four principles, the four foundations of what I realized to be humane and expressing ourselves into this world the way we want to be, are health. Because if I'm not able to have the energy and the ability to be in front of people wherever I need to be, I'm not as beneficial. Or if I can't demonstrate the permaculture and the yoga and meditation and just be that example, I found that examples provide a better inspiration than an expert, better inspiration than an expectation, right? So health, one of my foundations, and yoga brings us into that place of awareness, of union. Yoga is the yoke, a yoka, like our ability of connecting soul to mind and body. And so when we can master that connection of mind and body awareness in the right now moment, we're always moving in a direction that we can be consciously aware of that destination, right? We want to keep our feet moving and our actions moving in those places where we want to be. And my goal, and the title of my talk today, is the NatuRAW Pathway to Health, Happiness, Peace, and Abundance for everyone, everywhere. And I know it sounds full. I feel it's the highest goal of what I can achieve in my life if I'm successful. Will I be successful? I don't know. But it's my really strong belief that if a simple thought is heard out loud and shared by many, it can change the course of humanity. And humanity is really the only problem we have on the planet right now. The animals would be doing fine without us. The environment would be doing fine without us. And although we have an amazing capacity of being creators and recreating a Garden of Eden for this whole planet, because what we're suffering from is a dehydration epidemic. If we look around, we have fire, flood, erosion, drought, famine, homelessness, right? And all of these things are a result from a dehydrated mind that isn't working quite to its capacity, and a dehydrated landscape because our dehydrated mind is allowing erosion that happened thousands of years ago to persist. And so this is a multifaceted approach of what I'm working on, but it's actually all from the same roots. It's in a dehydration. And we've stepped away from natural for too long. We've allowed the imprints of society and culture to dictate the direction of human potential and growth. So we've managed to grow an economy, but we haven't necessarily grown a healthy humanity. But and this is I have to have a belief in this, but I believe that when a healthy humanity is focused on, that a healthy economy becomes a side effect of that, and a healthy environment grows from around our awareness and our actions. Imagine we have 8 billion people on this planet, each giving their time to whatever level, to entertainment, to consumption, to the things that are normal, right? And unfortunately, we haven't yet been exploring our potential as creators. And I recognized a lot of acronyms in my life, right? So to me, the I I am of God, because I don't believe God is a person, place, or thing, but rather the creative force behind everything. And our mother is all of the elements that she makes present for us to be able to manifest our will into this space, right? And so the I am of God is my intentions and my actions to manifest growth, oneness, and a divine accordance with others. I know that's a couple extra words on an acronym, but the accordance with others, we have an AWO. And when we kind of get the recognition, recognizing that God is within each of us, the power of creating new things lies within you and I, that we say, ah. But then we all can also recognize that when we look at it a little bit deeper, we say, oh. So if I'm responsible for everything that I'm doing, and I have the power to create a new world because I've created a new me. I have taken my awareness of now through the awareness of breath and grounding. I walk around barefoot quite often. So that brings you to an awareness of right now, because you always have to be aware of where you're stepping. I mean, it can be painful. It can be a painful experience if we walk with too much momentum or too much lack of consciousness, conscious awareness of what we're doing. So through barefooting and learning to breathe intentionally, breathing in through my nose, filling up the lower diaphragm first, because our upper diaphragm, that's where all the anxiety and depression and stress is existing. This is a short, shallow breathing that we're experiencing if we're in fear, if we're in stress. But if we can breathe in and we breathe all the way into our lower diaphragm, and we're breathing like a baby, right? We're breathing into our belly, and we're filling into our chest, and then we exhale out of our mouth completely. You can hear it. You can hear it leave. You can feel it leave. And when you push a little bit at the end, you can feel that you've gotten rid of everything that no longer serves you. And when we get rid of the things that no longer serve us, we create space for the things that do serve us to exist and be in our life. So that brings us to our realization of what I can control and when I can control it. So I realize that I can't control me yesterday and I can't control me tomorrow, but I can control me right now. And luckily, that's an ever evolving point of consciousness. And if I'm aware of it, I'm acting in a way that I feel is towards my destination of where I want to be. And every now moment that I can be aware of, if something has taken me away from my health, happiness, peace, or abundance, this is when I reestablish my goals of what I want in my life. And I realize I don't want to control anybody else because it's already a big enough job for me to be me. I've realized this. There's just some things that pop up in your life and go, you know what? I just need to handle me right now. And how am I going to handle me in a way that's going to promote health, happiness, peace, and abundance? And when I do that in the most conscious way, I can realize, well, if I can't control other people, I just have to accept them for who they are, right? I can take my energy, and I might not spend as much time or energy with them in their space, but the world's a big place, and I live out in the desert, and I've lived out in the desert for 22 years now, and it's a fantastic place to have great neighbors because you actually have to go visit them, and I enjoy all my neighbors. I think they're great folks. They're wanting some peace and quiet, and and sometimes we make a lot of noise here because sometimes I'm sitting on top of a mountain and I'm wiggling my hands around, and earth is flying in all directions, and it's a big diesel driven machine that is creating the terraces and the catch facilities, catch basins, and the aqueducts, and the things that are necessary, and that nature would be building on smaller scales everywhere if the abundance of water was present everywhere. It's a shame that a deer has to walk for a mile or 2 miles to find a drink of water. I saw a video the other day with a donkey out in the desert, and even the guys filming, they said, "Where does he get his water?" Seriously, there's water that falls on the ground, but a lot of it runs away. All right, so we have erosion, and we have flooding in certain times of the year, and we have drought and fire and famine in other times of the year. But if we hold the water to the land, and Ursula was talking a little bit about the dandelions, right? And the dandelions, if there's a little bit of water, they're like a warrior plant. You know, they're providing food and medicine, and they're providing shade to the ground, and they're providing a root that's willing to penetrate things that you can't think can even be penetrated. And so the dandelion really teaches us about desire and perseverance and the ability to seek the resources that we need in a space. We create the space that we need to grow. And in that, that's an expression of consciousness and life. I think the flower of life pattern is an expression of how consciousness manifests into reality. You know, you start, if you've ever drawn the flower of life pattern. So I'm a tattoo artist as well. If you've ever drawn the flower of life pattern, it starts off with one singular presence. It's just a cell, right? And when intention amplifies and when energy is present, there's a vibration. And we can watch this happen with cell division, right? And with cell division, when it happens to a sufficient level, we become a self, right? Spelled differently, but it's phonetically the same. And phonetics is the power of the spoken word. And so with the flower of life pattern, it's cell division, right? And anyway, that's one of the things I just had to add because I saw what Ursula had shared. We have freedom to express ourselves in the best way we know how. To do that, we have to know the options of what is available to us. And so when we recognize all of the options that are available to us, if we really mash the gas in any one direction, we end up running into a wall. We lose our balance. We lose our presence. We lose our ability of discernment. You know, we have people that are in confusion of certain aspects of polarities that are available to them. For me, I was born a male, right? In this culture that we've lived in, a lot of masculine energy has been expected of me in certain ways. And that's what caused me to think that joining a force working for a psychotic uncle was a good idea. But 9 years into it and becoming, getting into the supervisor position, I started to recognize the truth of what I was supporting, and so I quit. In that freedom of expression in the masculine and in becoming a soldier instead of a warrior, I had to learn apathy. I had to experience apathy to be able to support the things that I was doing. And the things I was doing aren't things that you would do unless somebody somewhere else said so. Instead, there was a demand and a need and a true, it needs to be done, right? And so you're the one that's going to do it. But we have the free will choices to say yes or no. But sometimes people's positions and ranks and authority get in the way of morality. And so in that masculine, apathetical expression of who I was at the time, there's certain things that you're going to experience in life that maybe you don't want to bring forward for very long. I had to learn empathy. I had to reconnect to my feminine side. I started writing with my left hand. I was drawing with my left hand. I started balancing my brain so I could achieve more of a balance in my body. I started to experience things where I was more receptive. I started doing things that were more in balance. And this is one of the things that yoga teaches. You know, we have tenets of yoga that build balance and strength and awareness of how your ability of pushing past boundaries that you've held before is possible. When you push to that boundary and you start breathing and you focus on where you want to be, you get there. I mean, I don't know. I don't show off very often, but I don't know many 50-year-old guys. Well, I'll be 50 in April. That are flexible. I mean, I'm more flexible than my 24-year-old daughter. And it's not because I'm special. It's just because I've been conscious long enough, that I've been stretching long enough, that I've been able to re-achieve what I was able to do as a child. We lose what we inherently had as children. We lose when we participate in this culture of atrophy and apathy and not consciously engaging and creating and only taking what we've gathered from others. So I know I'm jumping all over the place here, but I think you guys are really capable of keeping up and hopefully you're entertained a little bit here. So the individual growth happens with balance, and that's what I found is yoga and meditation as the foundation of that. When we achieve a balance and awareness of right now, that balance is not stuck in the past or worried about the future. It's that awareness of right now. It's not being one way or the other way. It's believing only in the way that you know is actually right. And the way that I recognize is right for me is recognizing that if I wish to demonstrate self-ownership and I want to be able to make my choices for me, I should give everybody else that opportunity as well, right? Because we can't be the only peaceful person. It's just not going to work out that way. But if we can each take care of what we can control, collectively we become peace. Because I think most people can recognize the benefits of having a healthy body, a healthy mind, one that is no longer stressed with things that you can't control, but is focused on things that you can, and growing, recognizing our ability of this power of the spoken word right now. How many people, I don't even know how many people are in the group. I think when I came on there was about 20. But if this is shared, and then it was shared again and shared again, because we've all seen like the little goat in the pajamas, right? And so if we all are sharing these words that can help shape our tomorrow, it can happen pretty quickly. 8 billion people on this planet, each doing something towards what matters for at least an hour a day. It's something that we as community can do for each other. So let me go on another path. So the two-faceted pathway that I found for me to be the best expression of me was I recognize what are the problems in the world, for me to be inspired every day to wake up, knowing that I get to wake up. It's something I get to do. It's not something I have to do. What were the biggest problems, right? And it was the environment and humanity. So the environment, I recognize the fire, flood, erosion, drought, famine. Those are all resulting from a dehydrated landscape. And so when we hold water to the landscape, and on the video that we just watched, about the Great Mother, she talked about her medicine. And water. Water is life. And water is medicine. And water makes up more than 70% of our body, depending upon which part we're looking at. And water is manipulated. By show of hands, is anybody aware of Dr. Emoto's work on the consciousness and how it can be imprinted into water and seen, right? And so if our thoughts are affecting the waters of the earth, and we are made of the water, and we are water beings, we're earth beings, and we're fire, we're all of the elements, right? But if we are capable of consciously manipulating that aspect of who we are and where we are and what we experience, and every one of us is imprinting a certain image of what we're doing, And all of those images start to align with a common goal of health, happiness, peace, and abundance for everyone, everywhere. We become that natural, raw experience of Mother Earth flourishing as little blossoms of humans, of you're a be you, the full expression of consciousness. And if we speed that up a little bit, it's a be you, the full expression of consciousness, right? So I hope you can share some of what we've gathered and what we talk with each other in your day-to-day conversations. I'm the guy that if I'm standing behind you in the line at Safeway or at Fred Meyer's, we're probably going to start talking about things that matter. And if you don't want to, then I'll be quiet and I'll talk to somebody else. But if we each engage with each other in a way that is for that growth, I really feel it's something that we can find in our life. And I want to make sure, Shonda, can you poke in? I think I'm at the half,
Yes.
but would you like me to keep going since I was scheduled for 2? Or
No, we're moving everybody ahead. Yeah,
okay,
Tracy's gonna come in at the end. She's having to go where she can get connected.
okay. Can I just finish up really quick with the apocalyptic?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
sure. You got about 3 minutes.
okay, great, thank you. So my model of transformation, I call the apocalyptic officer from Hawkshaven. It's and you'll be able to see more if you follow my Facebook or my YouTube channel. YouTube is Free Will. This is for Free Will, and on Facebook you can catch me at Rob Leaming, Leaming, or if you type in #Mad Monk _AAH, it brings you to a lot of my work. With the apocalyptic offshore Hawkshaven, we've done a lot of terracing, mulching, aqueducts. We're manipulating the landscape to be able to catch water that comes off the watershed behind the property. And right now I've got a waterfall that only holds for about a week, but none of that water will actually leave the property. It'll all soak into the aquifer, which works to go ahead and charge the aquifer so where springs can start flowing. Models that I'm duplicating have been able to recharge landscapes in less than a decade and when done on a big scale. Currently, mine's only 16 acres, but I have thousands of acres that I have the permissions to be able to do these modifications. And once we get the support, that will be happening. I've just purchased and did some bartering and trading for a giant excavator that's going to be able to really make some change and solve some of the problems with hydration. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I hope to connect with any of you who are interested in the work that I'm doing here in Central Washington. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me through Facebook or on the YouTube channel. I thank you again for this opportunity. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Rob. And I would also like to plug that Rob is also part of the Earth Mother Clan of the Dragonfly Permaculture Guild and our executive director. I'm going to spotlight him really quick. Mike Brunt with Cascadia Seed Guild. So here's our lead permaculture people, y'all. So y'all definitely reach out to these people if you need them. But of course, we'll be doing a lot this spring with the guild, so you'll hear about us. But these are our two permy people, guys. So much love and thank you so much for coming today, Mike. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead. We're still running ahead